So we're on Daf Lamed Amud Aleph, and we are holding where it says My Ikke, about 10 lines into the blot. The last word on the line, My Ikke, Daf Lamed Amud Aleph. Lamed. My Ikke ben Avineinu l'tfilah kitzara. What we learned yesterday was there are two tefillahs that are not like the 18 Brachos of Shemay Nesra. One is Havineinu, where a person says a tefillah that includes all the points of the middle Brachos of Shemay Nesra, and then there's a tefillah kitzara that a person says in a place of danger. So the Gemara wants to know what is the difference between Havineinu and tefillah kitzara. So Taisus over here explains that the Gemara is not asking what the difference is. I mean, we explained already before. Tefillah kitzara is only said in a place of danger, and Avineinu is not said only in a place of danger. Avineinu is said for a person that can't daven Shemay Nesra, doesn't have the time to daven Shemay Nesra. According to Rabbi Yeshua, actually, Avineinu can be said every day. But the Gemara is asking over here, what would be the nafkamina lahalacha in a case where a person davened Avineinu or a person davened tefillah kitzara? What would be the nafkamina after that? So the Gemara says here, let's see. So the nafkamina is Havineinu boy litzluya gimel kamaisa v'gimel basaraisa. Havineinu, when you say that bracha of Havineinu, you still have to say the three brachas of Shemay Nesra, the three first brachas, and v'gimel basaraisa, the three last brachas. And that's one point. Another point is, if the person davened the Shemay Nesra with this shortened version of Havineinu, when he arrives back home, he does not have to daven again. Okay? Tefillah kitzara. However, on the other hand, when a person davens the tefillah kitzara that we mentioned before, that you say in danger, so you just say that tefillah kitzara, and you do not have to say the other three brachas of Shemay Nesra before and after. And when you come back home, you should daven again. Havineinu includes all the points of Shemay Nesra. So once you were forced to daven Havineinu, in a case of Einis, whatever case that was allowed to daven Havineinu, so then afterwards you don't daven again. When it comes to tefillah kitzara, it's a very short tefillah. It does not include the points of Shemay Nesra, so therefore you should daven again when you get home. The hilchas of the halach is Havineinu ma'omid. Another detail that's different, Havineinu is a tefillah that you daven standing together with your feet. You have to stop and stand like when you daven Shemay Nesra. Tefillah Ketzara, the other short tefillah that the Mishnah said, Bein Mu'omid, Bein Mahalach. That you could daven whether you're standing in one place, whether you're still going on your way. You do not have to stand in one place in order to say the Tefillah Ketzara. We said in the Mishnah, someone is riding on a donkey. Right, so the Mishnah discussed what happens if you're riding on a donkey and you have to daven. It's a time of davening Shemay Nesra. What do? You have to get off your donkey and daven. Could you remain on your donkey and daven while you're riding? We learned in a Braisa, one is riding on a donkey. And the time to daven Shemay Nesra comes. If he has somebody that will hold on to his donkey and then watch it while he davens, let him get down from his donkey and stand and daven Shemay Nesra. But if he doesn't have anybody that will hold on to it, he stays on his donkey and his davens. According to Rashi, Yeshiv b'mkoimeh does not mean that he has to stop his donkey. He can stay sitting on his donkey and continue riding and daven. Rabbi Yomer, and Rabbi says, Benkach or Benkach Yeshiv b'mkoimeh v'yispalel. Either way, he should sit on his donkey and daven that way. Why? Because if he has to get off his donkey and stop his way, so then his mind is not settled. That'll cause him to be more tense in his davening. It's better to allow him to stay in his donkey, continue riding with his donkey, so he's heading in the direction that he's going on, so he's not tense about it, so even though he's not in the proper position that he should be for davening, but he could continue davening in that way. We pass him like Rebbe. Someone is on a road and he's on the way and he can't get out, so you can stay in position that you are in the car, that is, or on the donkey, and you can daven it that way Shemay Nesra if it's necessary. Now we go back to another detail that was mentioned in the Mishnah. about the fact that when we daven, we're supposed to face Yerushalayim, the Beis Hamikdash. So suma, someone that's blind and can't see the directions. Or you don't have a compass, you don't know where you are, and you can't see which direction is Yerushalayim. So your kavanah should be to daven to your Father in heaven. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, "V'espalalu el Hashem," that you daven and you're davening to the Eibishter, you direct your heart to the Eibishter. Now it returns back to the halacha. I'm not talking about a summa, but every person, anyone that has the ability to daven in the right direction. So you're standing a chutz la'aretz, you chaven es liboy keneged Eretz Yisrael. Your heart should be towards Eretz Yisrael. You should face Eretz Yisrael. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, "V'hispalalu elecha derech artzam." We daven to you through the Holy Land. Our tefillahs go up to the Eibishter through Eretz Yisrael, so therefore a person should face Eretz Yisrael. One that is in Eretz Yisrael, you should face towards Yerushalayim. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, "V'espalalu el Hashem derech ha'ir asher bacharta." You daven to the Eibishter and your tefillahs go through the city that you have chosen, through the city of Yerushalayim. If one is in the city of Yerushalayim itself, so then the person should daven towards the Beis Hamikdash, face the Beis Hamikdash. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, "V'espalalu el habayis hazeh." You're davening towards this house to the Beis Hamikdash. If you're standing in the Beis Hamikdash itself, so then you should face towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Shenemar v'espalalu el hamakim hazeh. You should daven facing towards this place, which is the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the holiest place. If one is standing inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, so then you have to face Yechavan Esliba Keneged Beis HaKapeiris. You face the Kapeiris, which is on top of the Aron, of course. Some take out the word base. You face towards the Kapeiris, towards the Holy Aron. If you're standing behind the Kodesh HaKadoshim, outside of the Beis Hamikdash, behind the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Chatzar of the Beis Hamikdash, so then Yira Atzmai Ki'ilu Lifnei HaKapeiris. You should see as if you are standing in front of the Kapeiris. You have to face the Kapeiris. So Nimtza, what does it come out from all of this? Oimid b'mizrach, someone that's standing on the mizrach of the Beis Hamikdash, machzer panav l'mayrev. He has to face towards Mayrev, to face the Beis Hamikdash. B'mayrev, if he's standing on the Mayrev, machzer panav l'mizrach. He has to face towards Mizrach. B'darem, if he's standing on the south, machzer panav l'tzofen. You have to turn towards north to face the Beis Hamikdash. B'tzofei, and if you're at the north, machzer panav l'darem. You have to turn towards the south to face the Beis Hamikdash. Nimtzu kol Yisrael mechavnen es libam l'makim echad. So what comes out of here is that when Yidden daven, we all face the same place. We all face towards the Beis Hamikdash, towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's the place where the tefillahs go through to go up to the Eibishter. Omer Abavin v'teimer Abavina. My Kara, what's the source of this? What's the pasuk? Kimigdal David Tzavarech. Like the tower of David is your neck. Boni l'talpiyos. It's built, talpiyas simply means for weapons, but over here the Gemara teaches talpiyas means tail, it's a mountain, shakol piyos painim boy. All mouths of people, when they daven, turn towards the Beis HaMikdash, because it's through the Beis HaMikdash that our tefillahs go up to the Eibishter, as it's explained, because that's the place where there's the Hashras HaShechina. Even Bisman HaGolus, when the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, Shechina le'zazam im kaima. The Shechina, it says also the famous thing when you get to the Kaisel Maravi, Shechina le'zazam im kaima, and especially the Mokkam HaMikdash, Shechina le'zazam im kaima, that was the place of the Akravis HaKarbanis, that's the place of the Ashras HaShechina, the Mokkam HaAren, and when a Yid davens, all the tefillahs go through that place to go up Lamaila. Avua the Shmuel, the father of Shmuel the Levi, and Levi. Ki have a bowl of meipak lo'urche, when they would want to go out onto the way early in the morning, have a mekadmi umatzli. They would daven early on in the morning, so they would daven very early before they went out into the way. So they would daven even before it was a time to say Kriya Shema, but it was after Aleisa Shachar, but it was before the time to say Kriya Shema. They did not want to daven Shmai Nesre riding on a donkey, not standing in the proper position, so they would daven Shmai Nesre early on before they went out into the way. And then, when the time of Kriya Shema arrived, Karu, they would say Kriya Shema then on the way. What's the source of what they did? Kaman, according to whom did they do this? Kahai Tane, according to this Tane in the Braise, the Tanya, it says in the Braise, Hishkim lotzis l'derech, someone gets up very early in the morning and he's going out on the way. And it's, as like I said, this is after Aleis HaShachar. This is the way Taisus explains it. It's after Aleis HaShachar, but it's before Netzach Hama. So Mevi'in lo shofar v'tekeya, he can blow shofar very early on. Lulav u'menaneya, he can do the mitzvah of lulav then. Megillah v'kayra ba, or also to fulfill the mitzvah of reading from the Megillah. Ukishiyagia zman Kriya Shema, when the time of Kriya Shema arrives, so then kayra, he'll read Kriya Shema then. Hishkim leisha b'karana b'svina, a person gets up very early to go out on a way with a caravan, or to go out on a boat, mispalel, so you can daven early on, before it comes the time of Kriya Shema, to be able to daven in the right position. When the time of Kriya Shema arrives later, kaira, he'll read Kriya Shema then. Rab Shimon ben Elazar argues in the Tana Kama and says, no, benkach ubenkach kaira Kriya Shema u'mispalel. It's better for him to daven in the right order. Let him say Kriya Shema later when he's on the way, when this time of Kriya Shema comes, which is right by Netzach Hama, and he'll daven then Shema Nasra after Kriya Shema on the road, even though he won't be in the right position for Kriya Shema. Why is that? So then he could say it in the right order, where you say the bracha of Gal Yisrael, and then you begin Shema Nasra. There's a very big thing, as we learned before, about to be Saimach Gula L'Tfilah. So the Gemara explains, what's the basis of the argument here between the Tanakama and Rab Shimon ben Elazar? Mar Savar, the Tanakama's opinion is, Tfilah mu'umad adif, being able to daven in the right position, standing with your feet together, the way you daven Shema Nasra, that's more preferable. That's more important even than being Saimach Gula L'Tfilah. Mar Savar, Rab Shimon ben Elazar's opinion is, no, Mismach Gula L'Tfilah adif. To say the right order of Kriya Shema, the bracha of Kriya Shema, the B'Saymach Gol L'Tfilah, that's more important, even though you're going to daven Shema Nasra, not in the right position. Sagt the Gemara weiter, Mereimar Umar Zutre, Mereimar and Mar Zutre. So this is referring over here to the times then that on Shabbos they would have a shir that they would give in the morning, and the shir in the morning on Shabbos would begin very, very early, as we'll see now. It would begin pretty early in the morning. So Mereimar and Mar Zutre, so they would give this shir in the base of Medrash. But have a michnefi be'asara b'shabbata de rigla, they would gather a minyan for themselves when it was the Shabbos before Yom Tov. It's like what we have now. There's the drasha of Shabbos Hagadol, the Shabbos before Pesach, or the Shabbos before Yom Tovim. So they would have a special shir early in the morning that they would teach everybody the halachas. So they would gather a minyan for themselves before they went to the shir to daven with a minyan beforehand. Umatzlu, and they would daven. V'hadar nafki lepirka, and then they went out to give the shir, and they were able to give the shir without making any interruption. So Rashi says, during the shir, when it came the time for davening, people of the shir would go out and daven and then return to the shir. But they didn't want to make any interruption in their shir, so therefore they davened beforehand with a minyan, even though it was very early on, it was before Netzach Hama, but they would daven before, not to interrupt the shir. That's what they did. Ravashi did differently. He was also, of course, Rashi says here, he was the Rosh Hashiva in the city of Mosa Machasya, right? But he did differently. Matzli Bahadi Tzibura, he would daven after he came to the shir together with the tzibur. Biyochid, however, he wouldn't daven together with a minyan. He would daven alone, miyushiv, while he was sitting in his place and giving the shir. How would he do that? How was he able to do that? Daven Shmei Nesra while he was giving the shir. So Rashi explains, because like the way it was then was there was a maturgaman. Ravashi would say the shir, and then there was somebody else, an interpreter, that would repeat over his words and explain the words that he said. So when it came to time to daven, Ravashi said a long inyan, and the interpreter was explaining, that gave him enough time to remain seated in his position and daven Shmei Nesra in that position. So Ravashi did not want to daven before the Zman Tefillah, before Netz. He would rather daven sitting there in his position in the middle of the shir, and then be able to continue his shir. So the Gemara explains then, then later when Ravashi came to his house, Hadar Matzli Mu'umad, he would daven Shmei Nesra again. He would repeat the Tefillah of Shmei Nesra again, standing in the right position.
Was it the long Shmei Nesra you daven sitting?
Well, the Shmei Nesra on Shabbos. We're talking about the Shabbos Shmei Nesra. Amri le Rabbanon. So the Rabbanon asked Ravashi, V'le'eved mar k'mereimer u'marzutra. Why don't you do like mereimer and marzutra? Get a minyan before you come to the shir in your house and daven with a minyan before, so you won't have to interrupt the middle of your shir and daven Shmei Nesra while you're sitting. Amar lahu. So he answered the Rabbanon and he said, Tricha li milsa. It's too much of a tircha for me to gather the minyan and have to daven with the people by me in the house, and then Rashi says he'll come late. He'll come later to the Beis Medrash. It's too much of a tircha for me. So the Gemara says, "V'levid mar kavua de Shmuel v'Levi." Even if you can't daven with a minyan before, why don't you do like we quoted before that Levi and Avua de Shmuel, before they went out in the way, they davened alone. They davened b'yechidus to Shmei Nesra to be able to daven in the right position. So if you do that before you go out into a way, you should do the same before you go to give the shir. Amalahu, so Ravashi answered, I haven't seen any of the Rabbanan older than me that have done what Levi and Avud Shmuel to daven just to Shmei Nesra before you go out and away. He doesn't want to daven just to Shmei Nesra alone before the Zman of Netzach Hama comes, and therefore he davens it in the right time. And then later, right, he davens it in that time in the middle of his drasha, and then later he would daven again Muhammad. That's the conclusion of this Gemara. So I mentioned before, in the car and the airplane, if it's not an airplane, you could probably get up. It's much easier. But in a car, if a person couldn't daven before, then yes, this Gemara is telling you here that b'diavad, on the way, you can daven sitting. Absolutely. But it's only, of course, b'diavad. It was impossible otherwise. Otherwise, a person is supposed to daven before, though. Sagt the Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Oimer. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, Ein tfilas ha-musafin ela b'chever ir. The whole institution of davening musaf is only together with a tzibur, in a minyan. The Chachamim did not institute to daven musaf b'yechidus. That's Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's opinion. Chachamim Oimrim, the Chachamim argue, we're in the Mishnah on Daf Lamed. Chachamim argue and say, Bechever ir ushaloi bechever ir. Whether you are with a minyan, whether you are with a tzibur, or you're not with a tzibur, doesn't make a difference. There's always the obligation to daven musaf. Rabbi Yehuda imem mishmai. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Kol makom sheyesh shom chever ir. If there is a tzibur, so then yachid pater mit tefillas musafin. The yachid is pater of davening himself the tefillah of musaf. So the Gemara will explain over here now these opinions. Frag the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda, Hainu, Tanakama. It seems like Rabbi Yehuda is saying similar to the Tanakama. What is the Tanakama saying? That a Yachid does not daven alone. There's only the institution of Musaf. It was instituted with a tzibur. That's what it seems like Rabbi Yehuda is also saying. That the Yachid doesn't, the Yachid is potter, you daven with a tzibur. So the Gemara answers, no, the difference is, Ike benayu. Yachid shaloi bechever ir. When you have a yachid that's not in the presence of a tzibur. Tanakama savar, the Tanakama holds potter. You potter. The Tanakama's opinion is the entire tefillah of musaf is only in a tzibur. If you're alone, then there's no such a thing as davening musaf. Rabbi Yehuda savar, Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is chayiv. If you are alone, then you will be chayiv. If you're with a tzibur, so then, you don't have to daven yourself. You just, as the Shliach Tzibur says Musaf, and every individual is Yaitze, hears the tefillah of Musaf from the Shliach Tzibur. But if you were alone and you can't be Yaitze from the Shliach Tzibur, so then Rabbi Yehuda says you do have to daven alone. That's the difference between the two opinions. The halacha is like this opinion of Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Which is again that if you're b'yechidus, you daven musaf alone. But if you're in a Beis Medrash with a tzibur, then you listen to the shliach tzibur saying musaf and you don't daven alone. What you said is right. The Amar Shmuel, because Shmuel has said, Mi yomai loy matzlina tzloisa de musafim b'yachid. My entire life, I never daven the tefillah of musaf alone b'yechidus. B'Nerda, that is in the city of Nerda, where Shmuel lived. And the next Amud, Lamed Amud Beis. Levar me'ahu yoyme, besides that one day, that one time, the Asa Pulmase, the Malkil Amasa, the army came, the army of the king, arrived into the city. Va'atridu Rabbanon, and the Rabbanon were disturbed from their davening. V'loi tzalu, and there was no minyan that they davened then, and he couldn't hear the Musa from the Shliach Tzibur. V'tzaleli b'yachid. and I had to daven alone. So then I was a person alone, not in a tzibur, and this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda and the name of Rabbi Loza ben Azariah, that you're yaitza from a shliach tzibur, but if you're alone, you have to daven yourself musaf. Yosef Rab Chanina Kara Kamed Rab Yanai v'Yosef v'Ka'omar. Rab Chanina was sitting and reading before Rab Yanai, and he said, Halachik Rab Yehuda she'oma mishum Rab Loza ben Azariah. The same thing he said, this is the halacha. Amalei, so he said, Puk kra karech lebra. Go and read and say what you're saying outside of the Beis Medrash. He disagreed with him. The ein halacha Rab Yehuda she'oma mishum Rab Loza ben Azariah. We do not paskin like this opinion. Okay, and this is, we of course, we don't paskin like this opinion. That there's a chiyuv for every individual to daven musaf, and you're not yaitz just from the shliach tzibor. Omer Rabbi Yechanan said, Ani ra'isi is Rabbi Yanai. I saw Rabbi Yanai on Shabbos, the tzali v'hoda tzali. He davened Shemay Esra once, and he davened Shemay Esra again. So what does that prove? That he was davening musaf, and that every yachid has to daven shacharis and then musaf. Omer Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Zayda. So Rabbi Yirmiyah said to Rabbi Zayda about this, Perhaps he davened twice because he davened Shacharis and he didn't have Kavana, and therefore he had to repeat Shacharis again. How do you know he was davening Musaf? The halacha actually is, the original halacha at least is, that if you do not have Kavana for the first brach of Shemay Esra, you're not yet saying you're supposed to daven again. The only reason we don't daven again is because the Ramah Shulchan Aruch says, the Alter Rebbe brings in Shulchan Aruch, that because if you didn't have Kavanah the first time, how do you know you're going to have Kavanah the second time? So therefore we don't daven again. But over here, the original halacha says maybe he didn't have Kavanah the first Barach of Shemay Esra, and therefore he had to daven a second time. How do we know he was davening Musaf? Amalei, so Rab Zera answered, Chazi man gavre rabbe de kamasadale. Look, who is this great man that's giving us the testimony of what Rabbi Yanai did? It's Rabbi Yechanan. If Rabbi Yechanan is bringing this as a proof that you should daven Musaf, Rabbi Yechanan must have seen that he was davening first Shachris and then Musaf. And we could rely on his testimony that he was davening Musaf and not repeating Shachris. And this is the actual halacha that every Yachid, of course, is obligated to daven Musaf. Rav Ami and Rav Asi afagav dahavelohut leiser beknishte betverya. They had 13 shuls in the city of Tverya where they lived. We had this in the Gemara before already. Lo have a matzli. They did not daven in any of those shuls with a minyan. Elabeini amudi. They were davening between the pillars. Heichid ahave garsa, in the place where they used to learn. As we learned earlier on in the Gemara, that there's a very big inyan to daven dafke in the place where you learn. So why is the Gemara bringing this up over here? They daven b'yechidis, and that include even on Shabbos. And even on Shabbos, they would daven over there Shachris and Musaf. Itma Rav Yitzchak bar Rav Dimi mishum Rabbeinu Amar halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda shama mishum Rabbi Loza ben Azariah. He said that halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Loza ben Azariah. Rabchia bar Abba, now the Gemara brings another case where we see that the halacha is not like him, because Rabchia bar Abba tzali v'hadet tzali. He davened Shemay Esra once on Shabbos and he davened again. So we see he was davening Shachris and Musaf. Amalei Rab Zera, so Rab Zera said to Rabchia bar Abba, my time of it mar hachi. Why did you daven twice? Ilay mishum delei kivim mar daite is the reason because when you davened the first time, you didn't have kavana, and so you had to repeat the tefillah again. A person should always assess himself before he begins to daven. If his mind is put together and he could have kavana, so he should begin davening Shemay Esra. Vimlav, if he's distracted, if he can't have kavana, al yispalel, he shouldn't even go to daven. So what's the reason that you daven and you didn't have kavana? Ella, rather, so that can't be the reason of why he had to repeat the Shemay Esra again. Ella, what must have happened was he had to daven Shemay Esra a second time because you daven, and it was Rosh Chodesh, and he did not say Yalav Yavoy, and therefore he had to daven a second time. So the Gemara asks, "What Tanya?" But we learned in a Braise, someone that did not mention Rosh Chodesh in Ma'ariv, ein machzirin oisei, does not have to daven the Shemay Esra again. Why? Because you're going to mention Rosh Chodesh tomorrow. It's still Rosh Chodesh. You'll mention Rosh Chodesh tomorrow at Shachris. B'Shachris, if you did not mention Yalav Yavai in the Shemay Esra at Shachris, ein machzirin oisei, does not have to daven again. Because he'll mention Rosh Chodesh in Musaf. By Musaf he doesn't have to daven again. Because, that what? What are you referring to? No, but it's the Yala v'Yovai. The Yala v'Yovai in the Brachos Retzei. Okay? And the Chanami. This is what it says here in the Gemara. We don't paskin like this thing anyways. Huh? Because if you forgot it in Musaf, you can say it in Mincha. So he responded to him and said, Lav itmar Allah, didn't we learn about this? This entire Brais over here is referring all to B'tzibur. What's the Pshat B'tzibur? Only when you can hear the Yalav Yavi from the Shliach Tzibur. If you're not hearing it from the Shliach Tzibur, so then you do have to daven over again. Okay. Correct. By might if you don't hear it b'tzibur, and the Bach taka takes out ba'arvis. You see, the Bach takes out arvis for that reason, because you taka don't hear it by might from the shliach from the shliach tzibur. So therefore, the halach l'mai says that you do have to say over Yalav Yavai. Yeah, sorry, you have to daven over Shmoi Nesra. Besides Maidav, as the Gemara is going to say soon, we'll see soon in the Gemara. There's a continuation here.
Rashi says Musafim she's spelled out the
That's the hemshech over here.
Rashi says she's spelled out the Chaynen.
So he davened the Musaf, the regular Shmei Nesra. Okay, shkayach. Okay. Sagt die Gemara weiter, Kamo Yishe bein Tfilo letfilo. How much should a person wait between one tefillah and another tefillah if he has to daven over Shmei Nesra? A person's finished Shmei Nesra and he realizes he has to daven over again. It's just to wait in between. We just said before, a person has to prepare himself, to assess himself to have kavanah. So how long should one wait? So there's an argument between Rav Huna and Rav Chisda. One says that his mind should be prepared to schaynen. Schaynen is meloshen tachnunim. You should be able to daven to Hashem with tachnunim. What's the word? Supplication. In order that he should have the awareness, his mind, to beseech Hashem. It's the same idea, but it's just two different expressions that come from two different psukim. The one that said the expression of Tischain and Daitoi, the Chsiv, he brought the pasuk where it says V'eschanan al Hashem. When Moshe Rabbeinu davens, it uses the expression of V'eschanan. The Chsiv, the expression by Moshe says V'yachal Moshe, that he beseeched Hashem. So a person has to make a short break between the two Shmei Nesres in order to prepare himself to daven the way he's supposed to. Now we return to the halacha of forgetting Yalav Yavai. Amarav Onan Amarav. Tov lehiskel shalosh chaydish arvis. If one forgot to say Yalav Yavai in Ma'ariv, ein machzirin oisai, he does not have to go back to daven again. And the reason is Lefishein Bezdin Mekachenis HaChaydish Ela Bayayim, because Bezdin is only Mekadesh the Chaydish by day. By night, the Bezdin is not function, and they're not Mekadesh HaChaydish by night. So therefore, the Rosh Chodesh begins when in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. The Rosh Chodesh would begin by day. So although today it's established in advance, and we keep the Rosh Chodesh from at night, but because then they would establish the Rosh Chodesh by day, so by night, if you forgot to say it, you don't have to repeat Yalav Yavai. Taisus over here explains, why doesn't the Gemara say a better reason? Because Tfilas Arvis is Rishos. We paskin that Tfilas Arvis is Rishos, so if you forgot to daven Shmei Nesra, why should you have to daven again? So Taisus says, and this is Taisus' shitta before, we had this already, I mentioned this then, Taisus holds the pshat of Tfilas Arvis Rishos does not mean what it sounds like. That it's voluntary. If you want to daven, you daven. If you don't want to daven, you don't daven. Taisus' opinion is the pshat rishus is that b'shas adchak, when you have to do another mitzvah, so then that mitzvah pushes off davening ma'ariv. But even if it's rishus, it's a chiyuv to daven. So therefore, you can't use that as a reason. That's Taisus' answer here. Omar Ameimar said, "Mistavre milsa de Rav." The statement of Rav makes sense to me. B'chodesh malei. When you have 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, so then, if you didn't say Yalav Yavai the first night, so then you could say it on the second night, which is really the main night of Rosh Chodesh. That's the actual day, that's the beginning of the new month. Aval b'chodesh chaser, if it's one night of Rosh Chodesh, and you didn't say it on that night, then machzirin oisai. Then he does have to go back to say Yalav Yavai, because that's the only night of Rosh Chodesh. Rav Ashi responded to Meimar and said, Mechdi, let's see what Rav said. Rav Taimekama. Rav said a reason why you don't have to repeat it. It's because Bezdin is not Mekadosh the Chodesh at night. Mali Chosid or Mali Moling. That reason, there's no difference if it's one night Rosh Chodesh or 2 nights Rosh Chodesh. Elo Loishna. There's no difference if it's 1 day Rosh Chodesh, 2 days Rosh Chodesh. If you forget Ya'alav Yaveh at night, you don't have to repeat it. And if you forget Ya'alav Yaveh and then the Shachris and Mincha, you do have to repeat the Shemay Nesra. Hadran Allah Tfilas HaShachar. We have time to begin the next...
Yeah, we have 15 minutes.
Okay, so let's begin. Sagt the Mishnah, Ein Oydim Le'Spalel. A person should not stand to daven, Ela Mitech Kavod Reish. Only from a position of being in a frame of mind of Kavod Reish. The taich of Kavod Reish, Rashi says Achna, that a person feels the Achna, the bittul, the submission to Hashem. Chsidim Arishainim. The earlier Chsidim, Hayushayin, Shah Achasum Mispalalim, they would wait an hour. They would prepare and wait an hour before they would daven. In order that when they would daven, they would have the proper kavanah to daven to their Father in heaven. Now the Mishnah says another day, even if a king is coming to greet you in the middle of davening Shemay Nesra, lo yashivenu, you should not respond to him. And even if there's a snake that is there at your heels, lo yafsik, you should not stop from your Shemay Nesra. We'll see later in the Gemara the details of these halachas. This is what it says there in the Mishnah. So now the Gemara will explain the source for this inyan of Ein Oydim L'Spalel Ela Mitach Kavod Reish. No Anamili. From where do I know this halacha that a person should daven? Out of a feeling of Kavod Reish. Omer Rabbi Elazar da Makra Vihi Moras Nefesh. This is a pasuk that it says by Chana. When she davened, so it says that she was bitter, and in that feeling of bitterness, she davened to Hashem. So this is the Kavod Reish we see in this pasuk. Fragt the Gemara, Mimai, what's the proof from here? Dilma Chana Shani. Maybe Chana is different. The Havas Merida Liba Tuva. She was very bitter about the fact that she had no children, and the pasuk is sharing that she was very bitter about it. But it's not necessarily a raya that everybody has to daven in that same feeling. Elam Rav Yosef Bar Chanina. So Rav Yosef Bar Chanina brought a different raya. Mehacha. The raya is from here. I bow down to your heichal b'yirasecha, in awe of Hashem. So over here it says, you bow down. It's a pasuk that David HaMelech says in Tehillim. So the Gemara, Mimai, what's the proof from David HaMelech? Dilme David Shani. Maybe David is different. When David davened, he would daven he would pain himself, and he would daven and beseech mercy from Hashem more than the usual. Maybe David HaMelech is different. How can we prove from there that this refers to everybody else as well? So rather, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi brings another pasuk. So over here, David HaMelech is not speaking about himself. Before it said Vani. In this pasuk it says, "Hishtachavu laHashem b'hadras kaidesh," that bow down to Hashem with the holy, with the splendor of holiness. Al tikri b'hadras ela b'cherdas, b'cherdas, and don't read it hadras, which means splendor. Ela b'cherdas, trembling in front of Hashem. So here we see you bow down to Hashem with charoda, with a feeling of kavod reish. So the Gemara, Mimai, what's the proof from here? Dilme la'olam emalach hadras mamish. Maybe read it in the literal taich, in the way the word is written, hadras, that a person should be in splendor and beauty in front of Hashem. What does that mean? Kiha de Rav Yehuda, like the halacha that Rav Yehuda, like Rav Yehuda's conduct, have a mitzayin nafshei. He would prepare himself, he would dress himself nicely, and then v'hoda matzli. And then he davened. Right? This is also brought in Shulchan Aruch. Before one davens, showing you have to stand like you're in front of a king and you're dressed properly in front of a king. So this is also a halacha that we could learn from this pasuk, and you don't have to change the pshat in the pasuk. Elam Rav Nachman by Yitzchak. So Rav Nachman by Yitzchak says mehacha. The raya is from this pasuk. Ivdu es Hashem b'yira, serve Hashem with fear, v'gilu b'ra'ada, and you daven to Hashem b'ra'ada, trembling. My v'gilu b'ra'ada. What's the meaning of v'gilu b'ra'ada? Omer Rav Ada bar Masna Marabe. B'makaim gila sham tehei ra'ada. In the place where the person is davening to Hashem, which is what gila means, he's davening, he's praising, he's singing to Hashem, sham tehei ra'ada, there also has to be a fear, a trembling when the person is facing Hashem. This is the conclusion, this is the last source that the Gemara brings. There's a very long sikha of the Rebbe on this Gemara, in Chelik Lamed and Lakut Sichos, where the Rebbe goes through the entire Gemara, that each one of these rayas that the Gemara brings, that each one of the Tanoim brought, or Amiroim brought, is expressing a different level. It's not the same level that you see in each one of these psukim. If you look, Moras Nefesh, which is the bitterness of the soul of Chana, or the Vani, the level of David HaMelech, that is, and then the Hishtachavu Hashem Bahadras Kodesh, and then the last pasuk over here, Gilu B'Ra'ada, they're different levels of Achna. They're not all the same level. And in general, what the Gemara here is saying is that there are very high levels of Yireh and Bittul and Maras Nefesh and Shiflus that Yid has to have. And the Gemara is saying all of those levels are not necessarily attainable by every individual. And therefore the Gemara says, Ali B'Demis L'Maskana, it's not something that everybody could do. The last pasuk, which is Bahadras Kodesh, that wasn't the last pasuk. The last pasuk, Ivdus Hashem B'Yireh, that refers to the basic level of Yireh that every person has to have before he comes to daven, the Dalaf Nemiyat Taimid. So the Rebbe points out an interesting thing. If you look into the Yerushalmi, the conclusion in the Yerushalmi is to learn it out from the pasuk Ishtachvul Hashem Bahadras Kodesh. I believe that's the pasuk, that's the conclusion there, or maybe the pasuk Vani B'Rev Chasta, one of those two psukim. So the Rebbe says in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalmi, where there was a greater Gili Elikos, so there they were on a higher level. So that's the maskana, that they're able to daven to the Eibishter with a Yireh Baishis, a Yireh Yalah, a higher level of Yireh. In the Bavli, though, which was years later, in Zman HaGolus, where there was more Cheshech, so the Gemara says, who says we could all attain that level? That's really what the Gemara is asking. When the Gemara is questioning all these things, the Gemara is asking, who says we today can attain this level of Kavod Reish? And therefore the Bavli concludes that the Raya is from a pasuk which is attainable by everybody. Another thing that the Rebbe brings many places in Sichos is the Vart of the Magid. The Magid teaches, and this is sort of an opposite point of the point of this Sicha. The Rebbe brings it in this Sicha as well. Again, it's in Chelik Lamadal, Parshas of Ekev, that the Magid teached, means that when a person davens, instead of a person thinking of his own personal needs that he needs when he davens to the Eibishter, a person should think about the kavod that there is in the Reish Lamayla, that there is a heaviness, that there is a lack Lamayla by the Eibishter, and that's what the Yid should daven for. And what that refers to is the fact that Yidden are in Golus. And whatever a Yid is lacking, whatever pain and suffering exists here below, what's the source of it? The source of it is because Lamaila, there is a lack, there's a heder and a chesar, and the fact that the Shechina is in Golus. That there's a chesar and Lamaila kaviyachol. So when a Yid davens, he shouldn't be paying attention to his own chesar that he has here below, but the person should be thinking about the effect of this chesaron as a result, is just a reflection of a chesaron that there is Lamaila, that the Eibishter, the Shechinte begalusa. That's what the Yid should be davening about. So it's interesting. On one hand, the Rebbe is saying that the Gemara's maskana is that a Yid is not expected to daven at the highest level of Yiras Hashem, and therefore the Gemara brings the last pasuk, which is the basic level of Yirah that a person should daven with. On the other hand, the Maggid says, the Mishnah is saying to every single Yid, that every single Yid could be thinking and davening about the chesaron of the Kavod Reish L'mayla. What's the pshat in this? Could every single Yid daven with such a kind of level of Kavod Reish? So there's another place in Likutei Sichos and Chelik Ches Parshas Matos where the Rebbe explains that when a Yid feels the pain of Golus, even if he feels that pain of Golus as a result of his own personal pain that he's suffering, whatever it may be, so even though he thinks that Bechitzenius, he's suffering with his own personal pain, and what he wants to Eibusha should help him, the Eibusha should bring Mashiach, is to alleviate him from his own personal suffering. But Pnimius, the suffering of a Yid that he's thinking about, is really the suffering of his neshama, the suffering of the Eibusha. That's really the Pnimius of every single Yid. Similar to the famous Vart of the Baal Shem Tov, when a Yid has a desire to eat food, so the real desire of that food that he wants to eat comes from his neshama, that wants to elevate the sparks of godliness. The desire that a Yid feels really comes from the desire of his neshama, and that's the Kavod Reish that a person should realize b'shas he davens.
Also from his halacha, he's bringing the Gadlus Akel, right? Which the Rebbe says to him to learn Chassidus before davening. And
yeah, correct. Simon brought in Shulchan Aruch that you have to be misbainim with Gadlus Akel before davening. Yeah. Okay, let's read just one more line in the Gemara. Where are we over here? Abaya Yosef Kamei de Rove. Abaya was sitting, a rabbi that is, in front of his teacher Rabbi. Chazye Davika Bodach Tuva. he saw that he was very, very excited. Too much, not happiness, but too much of his, what's the word? Badach tuva? Okay. Okay. Rashi says, take a look. Rashi says, Nirek kapayrik. It seemed like he was, yeah. So Omar, so Abaye said to him, "V'gilu b'ra'adaksiv." It says that gilu also refers to joy, but b'ra'ada, you have to tremble because you're always in front of Hashem. Amalei, Abaye said to him, "I'm not tefillin v'nachna. I'm wearing tefillin. So if I'm wearing tefillin, that's a sign that I'm present, that I'm aware of the fact that I'm serving Hashem. So the fact that I have this simcha is proper." Rabbi Yirmiyahu Yosef Kamei de Rab Zera. And the same thing happened. He saw that he was too excited. It says that when a person has etzev, if there's a certain seriousness that a person has, that's a very beneficial for a person. Alter Rebbe talks about this in Tanya Barichas, in Tanya Perek Chavav. So Malay, he responded the same way. I'm not tefillin manachno. I'm wearing the tefillin, so therefore that shows that I'm in check. I'm in the right frame of mind. Okay.